Hello and welcome to Basspick Reviews, and in today's episode I'm going to be doing my final thoughts on Chronicle. In all honesty, since I gave it such a high rating, I gave it a 9 out of 10 because I honestly think it's that good. I don't really have many final thoughts on it just because I think it's almost a perfect film. The one thing I did want to talk about was the whole idea of found footage movies. In my opinion, Chronicle is a good found footage film because I hate to compare it to Blair Witch, but in all honesty, I watched Blair Witch with my little brother. And I remember people saying how terrifying it was. And I think the main reason why it was terrifying was, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel when it came out in like the 90s or something like that, to my knowledge, I don't think there was like really any advertisement for it. So a lot of people naturally thought it was real, but it obviously kind of wasn't. And when me and my little brother were watching it, for a movie that was so hyped up on being really scary, we weren't that scared. And that's got nothing to do with the acting, it's got nothing to do with the atmosphere or anything like that. It just had to do with the fact that the camera would be like pointing at the ground, and then they would be like, oh my god, did you see that? And it's like, no, we didn't. And you could make the argument that sometimes not seeing something is just as scary. But if you're just gonna have the camera pretty much at the ground the whole time, just shaking, I didn't really understand why it was so scary. But I feel like with a movie like Chronicle, that's a found footage movie done right, where you sometimes don't see anything that's happening and sometimes you do see stuff that's happening. I think the reason why Chronicle can, in my opinion, set the benchmark for future found footage movies is because, A, he was like the original YouTuber kind of thing, just vlogging everywhere. But it was also because how the film utilized the fact that this is a found footage movie and they're going to use every single possible way for film to show. Whether that be from the camera, whether that be from mobile phones, whether that be from security cameras, from anything like that. They utilized every single form of camera you can think of. And I really liked that. Okay, but in all honesty, I know I compared it to Blair Witch, but in all honesty, I understood why they couldn't use a lot of that kind of stuff, because obviously when Blair Witch came out in the 90s, they obviously didn't have phones with cameras in them, whereas Chronicle came out in 2012, so, a lot of people did have phones with cameras in them. But I feel like as far as found footage films go, Chronicle is like the epitome of them because of how well, for a found footage movie, the cinematography is actually really, really good. Purely because this kid's got telekinesis, naturally he's going to just use this camera to utilize the fact he's got telekinesis. And even when the camera's slightly hidden and you see what he's going through, and even you could even make the argument, like I said earlier, like in Blair Witch, sometimes you don't know what's going on and that's scary. Well, same thing as in one of the scenes when he's getting beaten up, he drops the camera and it slides and you can just hear all the screaming and stuff, and you feel bad for him because you know he's getting beaten up right then and there. I think also because there was a lot of time spent developing these three characters. Heck, even the anti-hero one. I don't know any of their names, by the way, so I'm just referring to them as the villain, the hero, and the anti-hero. The fact that there actually was time developed to these three characters, and you could just instantly tell what each of them is kind of like. And I really like movies where they kind of do that. Like the second you see the villain, you can kind of tell that, yeah, this kid is probably going to do something with his power that you probably shouldn't. Even the anti-hero, just by looking at him, you're like, he just looks like a heap of fun. Let's just like go party and stuff. However, with Blair Witch, most of the movie, like I would say a good 15 to even half an hour, I could be wrong because it's been a while since I've seen it, but for a good portion of the movie, they're just talking about the Blair Witch, and they're just they're getting like interviews with other people about the Blair Witch, that kind of stuff. And I'm like, yes, that could make it more terrifying, but then if all you're going to show is just the ground and it's shaking, it's not, I feel like it kind of lost its impact a little bit just based on that, and the fact that there was just so much screaming, like, what's with all the screaming? But that's just really my final thoughts on Chronicle and kind of on found footage movie as a whole. So I feel like if anyone wants to do a found footage movie, really take a look at Chronicle, because even if you don't have a film about telekinesis and about these kids and all that kind of stuff, if you're going to do a found footage film, really recognize it's a found footage film, and people nowadays have got phones with cameras in them. There's like security cameras everywhere. People still occasionally video cameras and stuff. Really utilize that. Don't just kind of stick to in one place, which is one reason why I haven't seen any of the movies, but from what like scenes I've seen, wow, from YouTube and stuff with Paranormal Activity movies, all of it's just shot from like security cameras in someone's house, and I'm just like, I'll take a look for when this movie came out, but it seems like it came out pretty recently, and particularly some of the later ones that came out, like 2010, 2012, I even feel like there's another one they probably came out. People then started to have phones with cameras in them, and I would think that you would try to utilize that instead of just keeping with the whole security camera thing. But at the end of the day, this is just my opinion. Art is subjective, so don't be too protective. Basspick out.